What's up, Broncos country? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. A little mailbag episode here on the channel. My name is Moose, and we do this every single week from 4 p.m. Central to about 5:30 p.m. Central, and that would be about an hour behind in Mountain Time, where we ask we don't ask them, we answer all the most pressing Denver Broncos questions that you guys have, and we're one day away at the time of this recording from training camp, so let's start answering some questions surrounding the Denver Broncos. Josh coming in with the first one. What does Coach Payton have to accomplish to win Coach of the Year? 13-plus wins, AFC Championship, Super Bowl. Please use this one. LOL. Great question, Josh. In order to win Coach of the Year, I think Sean Payton has to at least win the AFC West. So you got to win the AFC West. I would also say that you have to win at least one playoff game. You'd win one playoff game, you can't get blown out in the second. So let's just say hypothetically the Broncos win the AFC West. They take the third overall seed. They win their first playoff game against, the Chargers. And then they go up and they play a team like the Bills in round 2. They cannot lose 31-7 like they did last year to the Bills. But if they were to lose 31-24 or 31-27, I think Sean Payton would at least make his case for Coach of the Year in 2025. But those are probably the prerequisites. That's just my opinion. Obviously, the NFL feels slightly different than I do because they always have weird rules for all these awards. But I appreciate your question. Matthew, Broncos, I love the show. What is your score prediction for the Broncos-Titan game week 1? I am pumped. I'm pumped too, Matthew. That's actually the weekend that I get married. So I will be here, not doing a live watch party with you guys, but I will be making a recap of the game. I'm saying the Broncos win that game 28-10. Cam Ward has to come to Mile High, his first NFL game. That might be the worst environment to play in for any rookie quarterback, period. That sucks. I don't really feel bad for him, though. I think it's kind of funny. So it's kind of like your welcome to the NFL moment. 28-10, I think the Broncos defense starts to really shine, that week 1. And then the Broncos offense, I think, will take a little bit more time to get started. You'll see the second half of that game where Bo Nix really looks on fire. Maybe a slight growing pain that first half, but I think 28-10 feels reasonable. Thanks for your question. Danny, if Von Miller would take the league minimum, would you sign him to just mentor / a depth role? Keep killing the game, Moose. #Broncos. Great question. So there was a recent, as I'm trying to fix my cord here, there was a recent Von Miller update, albeit it was a very vague one. A fan of DNVR was on their most recent podcast who happens to know Von Miller's agent. And Miller's agent told this specific person that Von has 3 teams that are very interested in him. The Broncos are not one of them. So it won't happen in 2025, to answer your question in a roundabout way. However, Von did go on to say in another interview that he did that he does believe that he'll play for the Broncos again. It won't be in 2025 and it might not be in 2026. But when he's ready to retire, he will come back with the Broncos. And I believe they'll bring him back on for one season. They'll kind of give him the tour that he deserves as one of the greatest Broncos defenders of all time and one of the greatest edge rushers the Broncos have ever had. And they'll have a nice little send-off for him. So it won't be in 2025, but I could absolutely see in 2026 or 2027, something like that happening. Appreciate you, Danny. Thanks for being a fan favorite of the show. Aiden, another fan favorite of the show. What wide receiver do you think will have a breakout? I can't use a rookie here, so I'm not going to say Pat Bryant because you can't have a breakout as a rookie. But I'm going to say Devon Vele. And I'm going to say Devon Vele because he is that big prototypical body that Sean Payton loves. I also think that after last year, you really saw the second half, Devon Vele's, he started to light that flame a little bit. He started to heat up a little bit. He was a player that I believe has the most potential to be a really good wide receiver too, behind Courtland Sutton. Does that mean that he's going to have 1,000 yards? No. But could he have 60 receptions for 700 yards, 5 or 6 touchdowns? I absolutely think so. The Broncos are in a unique position where they don't necessarily need to have 2 standout wide receivers. They can have Courtland Sutton, they can have Evan Ingram as a tight end, and then they can have kind of like a wide receiver by committee for that second, third, and fourth position for their wide receivers. I do believe that highly in them, and they're all very young. So the best is yet to come for this Broncos wide receiver room. Aiden, I appreciate you asking your question. The Bo Lever, cool name. Jauan Jennings in a Broncos uniform. What do you think? Oh boy, more trade rumors. Okay, let's talk about it. So, Jauan Jennings is a wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, a team that we have poached from, at least in free agency, with Talanoa Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw on the defensive side of the ball. But let's talk about the offensive side of the ball, because Jauan Jennings is a pretty good player. In fact, I would not mind signing him as a wide receiver too. If you could have Jauan Jennings and Courtland Sutton, that is a very good 1-2 punch. However, what he's asking for is way too much. We'll talk about it here in just a second. Our Patriots host, Mr. Brett Alper, came up with the trade idea for the Patriots. And I thought I would at least show this to you, because this is most likely what the compensation would look like for Jauan Jennings. A third or a fourth round pick and a player for Jauan Jennings. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy? I've never heard of him before, or I've heard of him in limited capacity. Well, when Debo and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle were all at the very height of their powers, Jauan Jennings took a 4th seat. However, with Kittle's injuries, Brandon Ayuk missing out last year on a multitude of games because of his injury, and Debo Samuel getting traded to the Commanders, Jauan Jennings really stepped up and became a very good option for Brock Purdy. Now, that's not to say he's a wide receiver 1, because he isn't. And he's asking for wide receiver 1 money. He's asking for $20 million a year, which is outrageous. I would never pay him that money. I wouldn't pay him a hair over $15 million. Not 1 cent. So I'll ask you this question, because we seem to have a lot of trade rumors here now on these mailbags. Should the Broncos trade for Jauan Jennings? Yes or no? Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because he wants way too much, and if he asked for like $13 or $14 million, the 49ers would have given him that. But they're not going to give him that money because he wants 20. So it's not going to happen. I'm saying no. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Before I get on with more questions, guys, you have to do me a favor. Use the link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video. Go to chatsports.com/long-sleeve, customizable Broncos gear. This long sleeve t-shirt is very, very cool. It's got a great fabric to it, but it also looks really, really sleek and keeps you warm. Summer's not going to be here forever, my friends. Make sure that you're geared up for the fall and the winter with this link that I'm putting in the comments and description of today's video. Michael, New York Jets just signed quarterback Sauce Gardner to a 4-year deal extension, making him the highest paid cornerback in NFL, passing Broncos cornerback Pat Surtain. Does Sauce Gardner deserve that contract extension, Moose? That's a great question, and I'm really happy you asked that, Michael. Here's my answer. Is it always the case that when a player resets the market, that he or not she, that he's the best player at his position? Does the highest paid player always mean that he's the number 1 at his position? The answer is no. And I'll give you multiple examples. You ready? At one point, Trevor Lawrence was the highest paid quarterback. Dak Prescott is the highest paid quarterback. Justin Jefferson's the highest paid wide receiver, and he is the best. But my point being that players reset the market all the time. If they're a top 6 or 7 player and they get top of the line money, it doesn't always mean that they're the best player. So clearly, Pat Surtain is better than Sauce Gardner. So does Sauce deserve that kind of money? He might. But that just means that Pat Surtain deserves that much more. Do you see my point? Now, personally, I wouldn't have paid Sauce Gardner that kind of money. But when you consider how much the NFL salary cap is going up and what players are demanding nowadays, it makes sense that he'd be looking at resetting the cornerback market. So, no, I don't think he was worth that much, but I'm not surprised that he got that kind of money, if that makes sense. Thank you, Michael. Boss man. People have talked in length about going to fully guaranteed contracts, but can you imagine if Judkins had already received a guaranteed contract? You're obviously talking about what happened recently with Quinshon Judkins and his arrest. And if you don't know, and you've been living under a rock, Quinshon Judkins, the rookie running back for the Cleveland Browns, just got arrested for domestic violence. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details. It's not a Browns channel, and obviously I don't want to get political on the show. I don't want to talk about what NFL players should or should not be doing. But to your point, boss man, I completely agree with you. This is why NFL teams are apprehensive about giving fully guaranteed contracts. It's for things like this: injuries, off-season issues, and poor performance. Those are the three main reasons you don't get a guaranteed contract in the NFL. We're trending more towards getting more guaranteed contracts, but truth be told, this is part of the reason why NFL teams are like, we don't want to do it. And Quinshon Judkins is just the latest example of why they don't. So I think you're going to see more and more guaranteed contracts coming forth, but obviously this really hurts the Players Association because of Judkins' actions. Simon, does Bo Nix name his firstborn son after Sean Payton? Oh, hold on, I'm going to read this again. Does Bo Nix name his firstborn Sean after Coach Payton, leads him to a second Super Bowl victory? So does Bo name his kid after Sean if they win the Super Bowl? It's kind of fun to think about, is it not? Probably not. But you know what? Anything's fun to imagine, so hell, I'll say, why not? If Bo wins a Super Bowl, he is guaranteed to name his kid Sean Payton, right? I appreciate your question, Simon. Thank you. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. A reminder to like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as always, be cool.